my self-talk started raging. I was just getting really cold towards Scott. And in fact, that was one of the biggest things that I felt, was this feeling of iciness towards him. I was just feeling nothing, like a disconnect, a feeling of, I don't give a fuck.
I could look into Tracey's eyes as we're having this argument going, I don't even know if that's the real Tracey.
And I think that's why people do have a lot of relationship breakdowns in their late 40s and early 50s. I think these hormones are a big part of that.
There's lots of changes happening in the body. The mood shifts and the anxiety that comes up that they never had before, the depression as well, especially when you have stopped menstruating and estrogen is low. There's a lot of motivational changes and they're just like, I just don't feel how I used to feel. I'm in a funk and I kind of can't get out of it and I don't know what's happening. These things are never forevermore, but now you feel all these things. You have to manually manage this just to get us over this period, and you're feeling better, and then you can manage things minimally supplemented yourself then.
Welcome everyone to the Reconnect to Self podcast, the show that helps you ultimately rediscover what brings you joy. My name is Scott. I am your host and also a filmmaker, and I'm here with my wife, Tracey, who is a counsellor of 20 years, a qualified breathwork instructor, and a certified psychedelic assisted therapist. Did I say psychedelic or psychedelic?
I don't
Psychedelic.
know. I might have tuned out.
How are you, babe?
I'm very well. How are you?
I'm well. I know you've wanted to do this show for months.
Yeah, I feel like
longer than months.
Everyone needs this information, so I am excited to have our next guest.
I'm unsure what my role is going to be today. I guess I'll be like a colour commentator. I'll chip in with a few comments here and there.
Well, I'm sure you've got some personal stories you want to share as well.
I guess so. All right. Well, you've probably told by the title of the episode what we're talking about. So today's guest is Natasha Goodrim, a naturopath who specialises in women's health, particularly around perimenopause and menopause. And this is such an important conversation because so many women go through this stage feeling like something's wrong with them, whether it's anxiety, brain fog, poor sleep, or just not feeling like themselves, without realising it could all be connected to hormonal changes. Natasha does an amazing job of helping women understand what's actually happening in their body and, more importantly, what they can do to support themselves in a very practical way. Natasha, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Pleasure. I know that Tracey's seen you in practice.
Yes, she's my personal
That's
practitioner.
why you're on the show.
Yes. Yes,
And
I like to bring in all my
Tracey,
network. Yes.
Do you want to set the scene, babe, about why you wanted to do this?
Yeah. Well, okay. I'll start from a couple of years ago. I was doing my psychedelic assisted training, and during that time we were looking at the way that we practice and kind of reflecting on our own practice, because as a psychedelic assisted therapist, the way that we support clients is very, very different than talk therapy. So around this time also I had a client that was a little bit difficult. Usually I have clients that love me. I know that sounds a bit arrogant, but they do. They always give me lots of lovely feedback and things. But I had this one client that it was only her first or second session, and she hadn't really had counselling before, and I don't know that I was her cup of tea. So there's a couple of things were happening around this time, and my self-talk started raging. I was saying to myself, you're not even a very good therapist. Maybe you shouldn't even be doing this. And I was really just tearing myself down.
How long ago was this?
I think it was nearly 2 years ago, so maybe 18 months.
Okay.
And I really realised my self-talk was horrendous. And for anyone that listens to the podcast, they know that I'm the queen of good self-talk. And so I knew that that was not nice, but I couldn't challenge it. Again, I get all this positive feedback from clients, and I could use that to challenge it. But in this time frame, I just sat feeling shit, feeling really low, feeling really terrible. And I started realizing that, I think there's some hormonal changes here. So I can't remember what I did right then. I think it was working with my friend at the time, the Ayurvedic practitioner, and we started recognizing what was going on with my body and changes and mineral changes and things, and why I was so depleted. And so from then onwards, I started realizing, gosh, is this what my clients are experiencing when they have, these hormonal swings? Because that self-talk was something I've never experienced before. It was horrendous. Is that something that's normal, Natasha?
Yes, yeah. That would be a big thing, I'd say, that takes women by surprise as well. just the mood shifts and the anxiety that comes up that they never had before.
Yeah.
The depression as well, especially when, you have stopped menstruating and estrogen is low. There's a lot of motivational changes and they're just like, I just don't feel how I used to feel. I'm in a funk and I kind of can't get out of it and I don't know what's happening.
Yeah.
It really takes them by surprise.
Well, it certainly did for me because I was like, where is this coming from? Like, I mean, I knew I was doing my psychedelic stuff, so therefore I was reflecting on my practice in a different way, than previously, but that self-talk was horrendous.
Yeah.
And then Scott and I also started having moments, I'll call them moments, that weren't so great. This is your role, babe. You can share your husband perspective
I was
on
trying to think
a
of
hormonal wife.
That's why I asked you how long ago it was, because I can't remember, but I know that it's been a little while.
Yeah.
So you reckon 2 years?
Yeah.
And for context, we can say how old you are, right? 40, yeah, 47.
You've already outed me on previous podcasts,
Yeah.
so yes, I'm nearly 48 next month. And so I really hadn't noticed some of these things. Like I've had friends that have complained about different things, and I did start realising, Tracey, you actually do get night sweats. I wasn't getting it during the day with hot flushes, which I probably could use. I'm always cold, so maybe I might like those hot flushes during the day.
Feeling a bit warmer.
But, feel a bit warmer in the winter. But no, I was getting them at night time. And again, just not really thinking about what that is, which of course that's one of the most common things is, the hot flushes and sweats and things. But around this time I was coming up to Scott with complaints. And what I want to say is, as a talk therapist, one of the things I know is relationships therapist, I should say, we have perpetual problems in relationships. So things that are just constantly going to come up, you're not going to be able to really resolve them. It's just how you manage them. We have them in all relationships. It just would be different with whoever your partner is. So we have those in our relationship. And every time one of those things sort of hit, normally instead of it being a 2 out of 10 where we deal with it and it's not a huge big deal, suddenly my hormones were ramping that up and I was feeling that like it was an 8. And Scott, you better bloody respond to me like I'm an 8 or there's going to be hell to pay. And that's how it felt. Like it felt like this feeling of
a bit of a loss of control.
Yeah, loss of control. And I was just like really annoyed that these things were still happening. So some of my self-talk, which is what I think my clients can relate to, is I'm sick of this bullshit. We've been putting up with this for years. Why am I still putting up with this? Even though I'm knowing it's a perpetual problem and it's going to be there for years, it's just the managing of it. I started feeling like, no, I'm not going to put up with it anymore. And so I was just getting really cold towards Scott. And in fact, that was one of the biggest things that I felt was this feeling of iciness towards him. Like I'm quite a loving, warm person generally. And I was just feeling nothing. Like a disconnect, a feeling of, excuse my French, I don't give a fuck.
Yep.
Like I would look at him and he would be upset because we're having a moment or an argument or something, and I really couldn't give a shit. And that's just not me. He felt
a loss of a filter.
Yes. Yeah, and you felt that, didn't you?
Yeah, and it's...
He's going to be gentle now.
Okay. All right. We will get into the nuts and bolts, but I think this is a good little scene setter for everyone because I'm sure lots of people can relate. All right, I'll tell you the story of the very first argument Tracey and I ever had. So we'd been dating not very long, like a month or two, maybe, you reckon?
Yeah.
This is when you could also relate to this, I had all sorts of gut health issues and my energy was really low and I didn't realise I was gluten intolerant at that stage. So by the end of the workday, I was knackered. But anyway, after work, we went for a walk. I was lagging behind just because I was tired and wasn't talking a lot.
And you can tell I'm a chatty Cathy, so that didn't fly.
The not talking a lot is actually a perpetual issue, which is why this podcast is quite good for us because we can have a chat. But anyway, she wasn't happy with me not talking and we got into a little argument about it. And that was the first time that I thought, wow, when Tracey's mad, she can actually have this coldness.
It's like a switching off. I just switch off from somebody.
But when you've been going through this stage of your life, that is ramped up to a whole nother level. Like it is. So from the guy's point of view, I get it. Like it's, I could look into Tracey's eyes as we're having this argument going, I don't even know if that's the real Tracey.
Who that is.
Yeah. And at that time it's not because I'm quite a social person. I like being with people. I mean, I can do my own company a lot better now, but back in the day I was always someone that was very social. And I was starting to have thoughts like, and this is literally what my thought was, I want to get away from you people. I want to go somewhere. I want to go. And I was thinking, is it a hotel? Do I go to a hotel? Can I get away from them? And I wasn't really maybe I was a little bit reactive to the kids, but not. Scott was the one that probably was the really getting the brunt of my mood. Yeah.
Yep.
But I was still thinking I want to get away from all of them.
Yep.
And I've never, ever had those thoughts before.
Yep.
So then I started realising, oh my gosh, is this what my couples are feeling? This could be the catalyst for, separations and
Yep.
lots of conflict and everything,
Yep.
because they're not understanding what's going on. They're not understanding, again, those perpetual problems, because again, they're going to go, do you know what? Nah, I'm sick of it. I've been telling you for years and I've had enough.
Yeah, it's a bit of a double-edged sword, I feel like, too. Like what you're describing is a lot of nervous system stuff. And at this stage of life, we're often our busiest. We're trying to do all the kids stuff. We're trying to do all the house stuff. We have a full-time job. Like we've gotten back into full-time work.
Yeah.
And we're trying to squeeze all of that in. We're trying to be the best mum that we can.
Yeah.
And it's a lot. So your adrenals get fatigued. So, it upsets, and that's very inflammatory as well, but all of that sort of upsets neurochemistry, as well as your hormones dropping down is upsetting neurochemistry, so your ability to make dopamine and serotonin, so all of a sudden, and especially if estrogen is low at that time, because perimenopause, this sort of stage of life that you're in, it is about higher highs and lower lows of estrogen. So if you're having an estrogen low and you're not making those those neurotransmitters very well, you're going to feel pretty low. And if your adrenals are pretty fatigued, it's going to be like, it's fight or flight. I've got to get out of here. My nervous system is telling me I need space right now.
That's exactly
That
what
is
happened.
exactly it, because even when you said the adrenals were low, that's when I was getting my cramping.
Yep.
And that's when I was trying to hammer the magnesium and Celtic salt and anything.
Celtic
to try and
salt, yep.
Anything to get my minerals going, because honestly, I was in tears, wasn't I, for those cramps?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So all of that
and your
stuff around
gut,
that time.
is this gut cramps? Yeah.
Oh no, it was feet cramps.
I was going to say or leg cramps.
Yeah. It was
Yep.
real feet. They were both cramping up to the point where, Tommy was so sweet. He was massaging my feet because he could see how much pain I was in.
Yep.
And then as soon as they'd unlock, they'd cramp again.
Yeah.
So that's when I was like,
So-
I have to get onto this.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's funny, women, like for years and years, I've always been with my friends, worried about diet and calories and da-da-da-da-da. And the moment that the cramping and the hormones happened, I could not give a shit about calories. It was all about minerals. It's all about blood sugar, stabilization and anything I could do.
Which is good, because lots of women start to get fixated on like their weight changes and things like that at that time. And I really shouldn't be eating this. But actually you really probably need to go a bit deeper and listen to your body, because it will tell you that you need certain things,
Yes. So should we go into the difference between perimenopause?
Yeah. I still don't understand.
Yeah, he needs to understand.
It is, because it is. It's confusing. There's lots of components to perimenopause and menopause. So it is really confusing.
The big question for everyone is, how long does it last?
So there's a couple of different stages. So perimenopause is really like the 8 to 10 years before you stop menstruating. You're having hormonal shifts all that time. And then menopause is once you have actually stopped menstruating, technically 12 months without a period is classed as menopause.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So you got 10 years of this, babe. Buckle
10
up.
plus. Well, I guess that's my other question is perimenopause the worst part or the hardest part?
Everybody is so different. Lots of women breeze through perimenopause and they think, oh, this is great. My friends are experiencing this, that, and everything else. And I haven't even had a hot flush, and they're coming up to the 50 mark. And then think when that estrogen actually is low, then they can start to experience their symptoms. I've just got lots of different ends of the spectrum, perimenopause, those hormonal shifts, higher highs, lower lows, progesterone is slowly declining. Lots of women struggle through that time.
Can you tell what happens when progesterone drops?
Yeah, so it's progesterone naturally slowly declines. It depends on what else is going on in your life, like your level of inflammation and stress is going to affect progesterone production. So, we've always made this level of progesterone that's protected us from the drop-off of estrogen when we come into a bleed or our period, and that's kept everything together. But when progesterone sits naturally a little bit lower and estrogen is high and low, fluctuating, then we feel all those highs and lows of that fluctuation. Mm-hmm. And progesterone isn't there to protect us as well as it used to, because progesterone is quite anti-anxiety and very calming. It supports GABA. So when it's not there, you're in an estrogen-dominant state compared to progesterone, and estrogen is really telling the story, and you'll feel when it's high, you'll feel when it's low. Yeah.
What's GABA?
GABA is another neurotransmitter. It's another calming neurotransmitter.
Right.
So progesterone is converted to allopregnanolone, and that sits in GABA receptors, which is really calming.
Right.
And it helps us sleep better, and it takes the edge off estrogen. Estrogen is very stimulating.
Yeah.
So and key signs that you are having problems with progesterone is that your PMS is there now. So you weren't making as good progesterone as you were before, and you're starting to have all that PMS that week before the menstrual period. Yeah, if that's getting worse, if there's sleep problems there, even histamine problems, progesterone is starting to get a little bit low. And that's naturally what happens throughout our 40s.
Yeah.
But also if you're stressed and inflamed and things like that, that damages our ability to make progesterone.
Right.
And we're going to feel those effects sooner and more so.
Yes. So with people that get those really bad moods, maybe 2 weeks before the period or whenever it is, like maybe it's a week, whatever it is. What was it called? Postnatal? No.
So there is premenstrual dysphoric disorder.
That's the one.
Yeah.
I've got a lot
That's
of
the
pints.
couple of weeks. Yeah.
Yes.
There's a couple of schools of thought, I guess, around that. PMDD technically is 2 weeks. It's a reaction to progesterone when you do make it at ovulation.
Yeah.
That is classically what PMDD is. That is probably 5% of women that actually, or maybe 10% of women that actually has PMDD, and it's a reaction to progesterone.
Right.
The rest of the 95% of us,
Yeah.
it's usually we haven't made quite enough progesterone to protect us from estrogen in that week drop off before the period. So, and we need more progesterone. Whereas technically PMDD, if you're putting more progesterone in, that's not the right thing. Yeah. It's a problem with our body reacting to progesterone.
Yeah.
There's still lots of things. There's still similar things that I would do in natural medicine to support both of those situations. But it's good to kind of discern between if it's because there is severe PMS.
Yes.
That's more classically that week before menstruation. Yeah.
But that's why I love people going to seeing a natural practitioner, because if you go to the doctors, they're not really aware of all this stuff. And also it's very hard for them to test your hormones. You need to do it on
There's
certain
not
times.
a test for perimenopause.
Yeah.
You know,
it's
there's
all about
not
symptoms, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can get stuff. So that's type of things that I do. I love looking at blood tests because I can pick out what looks like, that you're kind of in. There's sort of 4 stages of perimenopause where you're at. Mm-hmm. Technically, there's no specific test like you are or are not in perimenopause, but you can look at things like FSH and LH and how they're related to how much progesterone you're making and where your estrogen is sitting. Yeah.
Okay, so so is that more of the
And I think you also need the amount of time to talk about everything that you're experiencing, which we don't always get when you see the doctor.
Yeah, 10 minutes is the most you're going to get. And half the time they're not really talking about all the things that need to be talked about, like your diet, how you're feeling in your relationships, like all these things.
Yeah,
They're
how
just
much
like,
are you doing?
Yeah, and then here's a pill, you can go and numb that out.
Yeah.
That's usually what's prescribed.
Yep. Yeah, and then the other side of it is if you don't fit that box and all your bloods look perfect, but yourself, you don't feel good.
Yes.
Things are changing. You can still be in that, that
lower range, but they're saying it's normal. Yes.
That box of your normal, and that's another thing that I'm looking for is the high end of the high range or low end, or that in comparison to something else in your bloods tells me a lot. Yeah,
I'm always telling people as well, like if you've gone to the doctors and you're in the low range of anything, I would say you're depleted. Because they're looking for absence of disease. They're looking for, a different kind of set of...
They're looking to be able to diagnose something and it needs to be out of the range.
Yes.
And then they have something for that, which is great,
Yeah.
When you need, when you need...
Then that support. But I just feel like if they're not knowing that, then they're going, oh, well, the doctor said I'm fine, but they're not feeling fine. And that's the bit I want to drive home to everybody is
I want to drive that home. Yeah. Sorry to interrupt.
No, you go for it.
My philosophy, because I've had my own health journey, is doctors' job, and I think I've said this on a podcast before, so I see the GP's job is to try and keep people out of hospital. The government set up that system so that they can keep as many people out of hospital as possible. So if you go to the GP and you're not feeling great, as long as you're not that bad, his or her job is done.
It's done, yeah.
What we're talking about and what I've been super focused on, and at some point I would love to have a functional medicine doctor come on the show, is you want to be going for optimum.
Yeah.
Not just
Maintaining this minimum level of...
I don't have to go to hospital, so I must be okay, or I can take this pill, so I must be okay because the doctor prescribed it.
Not just one pill, there's 5 pills.
Yeah. You want to... Your aim should be, I want to feel optimal.
Yeah.
Yes.
Not just scraping through.
Just scraping through.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
people are scraping through. Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sure if we sort of said how old Tracey is, but what age does this usually show up at, and who are the types of people that would come into your practice?
Yeah, I'd say, perimenopause is that 8 to 10 years before. So definitely it can be even late 30s. And I always like to find out, when did your mum stop menstruating, or an older sister. We commonly follow suit with what happened with them. Because if their mum stopped menstruating at 45, which is technically a little bit early, but if they stopped at 45, then you're going to be definitely feeling symptoms at late 30s.
Yeah.
If your mum stopped menstruating at 52, which is really normal, then 45 onwards, I technically see. But anything between 40 and 45, changes start to happen. We definitely start to feel those higher highs, lower lows.
Yeah.
We start to have less of a filter, like you've described.
Just a Scott.
Yeah, and because we're so
the
busy.
filter remains for most other people.
He's
It's
my
a
safe
buffer.
place.
The estrogen is a buffer, it helps to mask lots of things that are going on underneath. And then when that starts to drop off, things like that fatigue comes in, and our mental health is not as good. And even just with our relationships, things that you've been dealing with, and it's okay and it's fine, and then I start feeling better so I can cope with more, they all become, come to the surface, become a bit more of a problem.
And it can happen quickly. Like I can be fine, and then a little something happens, and there it is. Like it's just like a wave.
Or if one of those perpetual problems comes up, watch out, Scott. I'm in trouble.
He's very good though. He kind of just knows.
We should actually talk about this. I mean, I can't imagine a lot of men are going to listen to this episode, but we could still educate.
Wives can share it with the husbands.
Because the relationship aspect of it, I think,
is huge. Yeah, I think it could be really misunderstood, that people could really think my relationship's in trouble, or she's just a moody cow now and I don't really like her. Like I could totally see that would be the case. Yeah, and that people just are not getting along. And then we move into what we call negative sentiment override, where you're having like 5 interactions together that aren't going so well versus one nice one. Yeah. So if you're sitting in that for too long, and again, you've got the hormones swinging, you could start thinking, why am I here, and what's keeping me here? Like you would really start questioning the relationship. Yep. And I think that's why people do have a lot of relationship breakdowns in their late 40s and early 50s. I think these hormones are a big part of that. And I think men can also have their own hormonal shifts, with testosterone and things.
Definitely.
So they're being affected. Yep. But if they're not knowing that this is a thing, then the husband probably thinks that wife is just being really unreasonable or a crabby cow or whatever. We like to call it Bratty Tracey. So when Bratty Tracey's around.
I love it.
And I think you have to sort of
externalize it a little bit, because he knows that it's not the true me. And the other thing you put up on one of your reels recently about brain fog. And I feel like I used to have the best memory. Like I could know all my clients' ins and outs and the cat's name and the this and that. And then sometimes it'll take me a little bit where someone starts talking, like, oh, that's right, their whole story comes back to me, but it's not as sharp as what it used to be. And then even Scott and I will be having little moments of me maybe complaining about something, and he'll share something and go, well, what about when I did blah, blah, blah the other day, or I did this instead to try and show my care for you? And honestly, until he tells me that, I have no memory of that. I don't really tell you that.
That
yesterday.
Happened
yesterday. I was having a complaint and he said, but what about when I made you? Because you know how you've put me on the no gluten and the no dairy and stuff for 6 weeks. So Scott was very sweet and he made me some gluten-free bread because he likes it better than the supermarket. And so when I was doing the whole, I always tweak things to cater for you and I do this and this. And he goes, but what about the other day? And I did this and I did this.
Because I made banana bread and gluten-free bread. Wasn't getting any credit for that. I got credit at the time.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
At the time. But later, gone out the window, forgot. So my other tip for couples is, if you are doing things that are really thoughtful and kind and your partner's not noticing it, gently, because he was very gentle with it, bring it to their attention, because you're stuck in your patterns and you think the same ways. So if he's not normally making me bread, which you don't normally make me bread because I didn't need you to make that this is an anomaly, and I just didn't remember that. But when you brought it to my attention, I was like, okay, yes, I do feel cared about. But yeah, that brain fog.
I think it's hard as well when you are feeling maybe sitting in a lower estrogen state and you're just generally feeling a little bit lower.
Yeah.
You do have those ruminating thoughts, that aren't so positive as well. So it's hard to remember the good things that has been happening all week until someone reminds you, and then you start thinking, okay, yes, that's right, you did that, and then that, and that was really nice too. And
yeah, I've been trying to focus on that because I was realizing that I'm looking for the negative again because of that mood state.
Yep.
It wasn't because of any other reason than that. So yeah, I think that's a good thing to be mindful of as well, is how is it affecting what your filter is, what your lens is.
Yep. Yeah. And you're talking about brain fog. Our brain actually, because there's estrogen-loving portions of the brain, and when that estrogen is low and then over time is generally low, those estrogen-loving portions kind of shrink a little bit, so we can't remember as much. Our brain goes through changes. There's lots of changes happening in the body, and the brain is just another one.
I'm so glad you're here. So you hear this, Scott?
The brain is shrinking.
Yes.
Natasha, what are some of the other things that take women by surprise during this stage of their life?
I think there's a lot of gut changes actually that come up with this because, again, estrogen high and fluctuating. Estrogen drives histamine and they both sort of compound each other. So estrogen is very good for the gut lining, and then when that drops down, we naturally become a little bit leaky and we have a little bit more histamine production, which also drives our estrogen up. So when you become a little bit leaky, you become sensitive to things that you weren't before. Right. I've always been able to eat bread, but I really feel like it's starting to become a problem, or dairy or tomatoes or that sort of thing. And then that when the estrogen when estrogen is going high again, histamine is going high. They follow each other around, and you can have, other histamine-driven problems.
Well, as someone who also experiences gut health issues, is it, and obviously I'm not a female, are they the same sort of thing? Because a lot of things you talked about there, I think you said dairy, I think you said tomatoes. It
can be lots of different food. You can become sensitive to lots of different things.
Oh yeah, and you recommended Tracey getting off gluten.
There's two big ones. And if you think about histamine in general, the gut is a big contributor to histamine production. So
that affects your sleep and things when you're...
It does. It's a stimulatory neurotransmitter. It's more active at night. It will keep you awake at night. So
does it help you? Sorry, does it stop you from going to sleep, or is it? Because I find that I was waking up at 3 a.m. What's going on?
Yeah. Okay. So that could be a little bit blood sugary or liver function trying to process your hormones as well can wake you up. But blood sugary, especially if you've been having a low carb diet or keto type diet, and you're not getting enough carbs in, then you aren't restoring your liver glycogen, so you can sleep well during the night. Your blood sugar spike is waking you up. That's a common thing to happen at 3 a.m.
Yeah, I didn't know that was a blood sugar spike. I don't know what I thought that was.
Yeah.
Are there things that you can do because I'm actually right in the middle of a total gut health reset. Like, I haven't had sugar in 7 days now. I haven't had really many carbs in 7 days because my gut was a bit of a mess, and I'm finally starting to get on top of it. I'm sleeping pretty well. And I've noticed how much, if you had have asked me, I would have said, no, I don't eat a lot of sugar. But now that I've totally cut it out, I've realised all those little incidental things that I was having that have sugar in them.
Yep.
So I guess my question is, what do you tell your clients around, what are some of the things they can just do in their day-to-day life, maybe around their diet to start with, that can help,
can balance it out a bit.
Yeah. Like this stage of life, with estrogen dropping down, you are losing muscle mass as well. And muscle mass is a good way to keep your blood sugar control on track, So they sort of compound each other. So in that, I say it to women a lot, we need to take over, we need to manually manage this now. So your estrogen used to be really great for insulin sensitivity, and it kept those sorts of things on track, and you could skip a meal and it didn't matter, or had a bad night's sleep and it didn't matter. But now you feel all these things. You have to manually manage this, and that is by having protein, plenty of protein. As we age, our requirement for protein actually goes up, and we naturally seem to eat less. Naturally, we do have a little less stomach acid, so I guess it decreases our want for protein, but our need goes up because we don't have that estrogen to look after our bones and cardiovascular system anymore and our muscles.
Right.
We need to eat protein at each meal, and I will hands down tell you that every single person that I see is not having even the recommended daily intake of protein.
That's 1,000% me. And I have noticed that since you recommended that I do have protein, and look, I'm still not even nailing it. So for all my clients that come back to me and say, I didn't do my homework, I feel so bad, I'm the same. So I'm trying. But you recommended a protein powder, and I don't really drink smoothies, but I discovered if I put all my drinks together and put that protein in there, I have that in the morning and I feel much better. I was actually feeling nauseous in the mornings lots of times, like almost like morning sickness that I would get, and it could go through the whole day. And I think now it was to do with not having enough protein or that blood sugar or something like that, because I think since having the protein just in that drink, which doesn't really have any calories in it at all, it's just that protein in it's made a difference to me. So I think I just need to make sure I'm having more of that. I feel like a bodybuilder, those guys that have just the chicken and rice, or like those real basic. Just to get things in, just to get the food. That's what I'm saying. I'm not even worried about calories. I'm worried about, am I getting enough this? Am I getting enough fiber? Like I'm just trying to.
If you increase protein, you don't have to worry so much about calories because you're going to be filled up. You're going to be fuller for longer. Naturally, you're going to snack less. You're going to usually stick to 3 meals. Like naturally, you'll become hungry at 4 hours later.
Yes, it does make a difference. So I definitely need to do that.
Should we delve into some of the stuff that you're doing in the mornings and all the different supplements? Because you've done a lot of things. If we think about even the last 12 months, all of the things, the supplements you've bought and the little cacao, little ceremony that you're doing every morning. Do you want to talk about that?
Sure.
Well, tell people what you do.
Well, this is just
it's quite a process every morning.
Well, the stuff from Natasha. Well, you can probably talk better to that of what you prescribed for me. So one's the protein, and then one was the gut.
So there's Metarelax.
Yes, Metarelax is definitely one.
And then magnesium. Yes, basically magnesium, taurine. Yeah. That's a really important one in this life stage because I keep saying, progesterone is on a natural decline. It is dropping down and it gets damaged easily. We, again, need to manually manage that progesterone and support its production or be able to hold on to the progesterone that we do make throughout the month. So the way that we do that is magnesium, taurine and B6 together. Those 3 together help to boost that GABA again, which is calming in place of declining progesterone now,
And so I've been having that in the mornings.
And did you have a test to figure out that Tracey needed that, or is that something that everyone generally
a lot of things.
Need?
It's a real baseline, especially for some of the common symptoms that you get in perimenopause, like hot flushes, sleeping, so busy. If I just have a woman and she's so busy, then you're going to be churning through your magnesium, and you need magnesium to make serotonin to make us feel good, and we need serotonin to go to melatonin so we can sleep. It's a bit of a no-brainer to put in.
We need magnesium for everything, don't we? Like for our whole system.
Yes.
I'm always saying to people, you need a good magnesium because you use it in all the processes of your body, and especially when you are going into fight and flight. We're using all these things.
You are burning through it. Yes. And unfortunately, a lot of our foods are pretty deficient. It's in a lot of foods. Number one, we can't get enough from food because it's deficient, but also the rate that we're burning through it, we need that little bit extra.
I think people don't realise that our soils are depleted. So even if you're thinking you're eating a good diet, you're probably not getting all your minerals just because the soils don't have it in there.
Unfortunately not. Unless you're growing all your own stuff and you're completely controlling what's happening and the stuff that's getting sprayed on it, it's very hard to know what you're actually getting.
I have a question about magnesium or just supplements in general, right? Because you go to Chemist Warehouse, for example, and that wall is full. From what I've learned is not all magnesiums are the same.
Equal.
And how do you know, or do you have any sort of generic advice to go, look, if it's cheap and it's in the chemist, it's
basically
full
that.
of buffer.
Basically that.
Filler,
If
full
it's
of filler.
cheap and there's a lot of them,
Yeah.
it's probably not great.
Yeah.
And it might not all be filler. It might be, you know, it'll say there's 200 milligrams of elemental magnesium in here, but it's oxide, which is very poorly absorbed, but quite cheap to make, you know. So
And no one's going to know that unless you really know.
no, it's like, oh,
the
that looks
different
really
types.
great. Yeah. In one tablet, that's great. But number one, oxide, I would use that if you are completely blocked up and you need to send yourself to the toilet. You know, it's going to pull a lot of water in. That's the only time that I would use that. Basically. And then, yes, there's so many types of magnesium. And yes, I would use that for different things that's going on for you.
Yep.
Like glycinate, really well absorbed. Glycine is really good for the nervous system. It's good for sleep, helps to reduce the body temperature. So magnesium glycinate at night, that would make a lot of sense if you're quite stressed, you can't fall asleep, waking up during the night. Then there's magnesium citrate, which again, it's a good one to help move the bowel because that is gut changes that can happen with perimenopause. I have loose bowels now, or I have sluggish bowel now. It used to always be really good. So citrate is good for that, but it also is reasonably well absorbed. So that is slightly better form. And then there's magnesium amino acid chelate. That's a good, well absorbed one. So amino acid chelate or glycinate, they're two that I would usually opt for a nervous system sort of function.
And is there, I mean, we're not the BBC. Is there specific brands that you can
I take,
suggest?
like me personally, I like to go practitioner brands. And some of them you can get over the counter now. You can get bioceuticals over the counter. You can get metagenics over the counter. They tend to have the better forms. They would have less oxide, although there still is oxide in some of those. It really depends what you want your magnesium to do.
I do magnesium baths. Is that good for like just
So
muscles, or
this
is that
again? Everybody is so different. You know, I would never really. I would prescribe a magnesium bath if I want them to do any sort of meditation, or I want you to have time every single day for yourself because you're doing everything for everybody else and you've completely forgotten about you. So have a bath. Put your bath salts in there. That's got nice essential oils in there. You know, mum is in the bath. Leave her alone.
Oh, I do that. That's
Yeah, Tracey does that a lot.
That's
I
my
would
special
do
place.
that, But I have had some women say, and actually in bloods, it's not a great way to check your magnesium in bloods, but in bloods you can see magnesium has come up from soaking in it. However, I wouldn't usually say that's a great
not
way
your
to do
recommended
it.
way to do it,
Yeah, because, you know, a well-absorbed supplement I would definitely use first.
Yeah.
But some people find that's the only way they can bring the magnesium up.
Yeah.
Usually I would use it like in the middle of the night for calf cramps and you can't go and get in the bath or go and take your powder.
Yeah.
Then you can just quickly put it on and it's a nice local release of magnesium just to relax those local muscles there.
Yeah, I've used sprays before when I've had
Yeah.
cramps and they've been helpful.
Yeah.
I think as well with supplements, people can get, like what Scott said about being overwhelmed, but they can also just start taking them and then kind of just keep adding and
Yes.
no one's ever checking their levels or no one's
Yes.
ever making sure that you actually still need that anymore. Like an example of that was years ago, my son got into creatine because he saw it on TikTok. And so he just started taking creatine.
Yep.
And then we went and saw a homeopath and I think she talked to him about it and he stopped taking creatine. Because that's
There's a lot of
Yeah.
podcasts now, though, that talk about the huge benefits of creatine to the point that I'm probably going to...
Yes. I was going to say creatine I probably would take though,
Yeah.
but you can't. I would never prescribe something, and I think I said this to you, prescribe something forevermore. These
Yes,
things are never
yes.
forevermore. This is to get us over this period and you're feeling better, and then you can manage things minimally supplemented, you know, yourself then by doing all the lifestyle and diet stuff.
But again, I think that's why people get stuck, because if you went to the doctor and they put you on whatever medication, they go, right, you need high blood pressure medication, you need an antidepressant, you need a whatever. No one's ever trying to get them off that.
Yeah.
They are
They sort of
literally
just
on that
go
for
on
life.
that for
Like I have
years.
people come in and they go, oh, you've been on this for 20 years, or oh, I can't come off that because. I'm like, why? Has anyone ever tried to give you more support, or you've never come to counselling before? Do you need that now? Like there's so many things that people just take and then that's it.
Yeah.
That's me.
I did a interview with someone for a film, and he had been got sort of dry skin on the tips of his fingers. He'd been taking medication for 30 years
What?
for something so minor.
That's
and I'm
ludicrous.
like, putting
Yeah.
pills in your body for
And
30 years
who's
over like little
renewing that prescription?
I know, it's crazy.
That's what drives me crazy. That's why I'm always pushing people going to people that are more working with you individually.
Yes.
And your own system, not
Yep.
just, the generic sort of.
Yeah, what you actually need and
Yeah.
where are you at with that now? I do commonly ask that, and I do send them back to their doctor to have a conversation around that medication.
Yeah.
Even dropping the dose down after that conversation with them, is that something that we can do, That comes up a lot with PMDD, the answer for that is an antidepressant or an anti-anxiety. And if you're seeing a natural medicine practitioner and you're taking other things like a magnesium or some herbs, then maybe you can drop that dose down. Maybe those two complement each other better now. It's worth having the conversation.
Yeah.
I'd like to make a point about supplements because I used to be quite cheap. You know how I was talking about not wanting, but I think there's a point to be made that you make to me, Tracey, is if you're concerned about money, is your health is probably one of the areas of your life to spend the extra money.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that I've finally kind of started doing is, realizing that not all supplements are the same. For example, magnesium's probably a great example. You can get cheap, you can get expensive. If you're putting it in your body, have the self-care to go, I'm going to spend the extra on this
Yes.
because it's my health. It's
Especially
everything.
when you think about what you waste money on. Like there's so many
Absolutely,
things that you're not so mindful of, and then it comes to something you put in your body. You want that to be the best. And I also think if that was your kid, you
Yes.
probably do want the best for your kid, and you're probably making those choices a bit differently. But when it comes to us, we're like, that'll do.
That'll
like
do.
It's a real that'll do.
And then you
kind
wonder
of
why it's like, this is not really working.
Yes.
I wanted it to do this and that doesn't. And so then I feel like I've tried everything and there's no hope.
That's right. And I also think going back to supplements, people might not know what's absorbing or not absorbing.
Yeah.
So even when I talk to people and they say, I do take a magnesium, I do take an iron tablet or whatever it might be. And you're like, well, is it absorbing though? Because if people are taking things, they don't always know how effective that is.
Yeah, I definitely have somebody at the moment where we've been doing iodine for quite some time, a few months, a good few months, and we've checked her iodine and it's actually low. So one, I want to know how low was it to start with, but where is all this? Like she's taking iron as well, and we can see her iron is not coming up. Where is all this going? You're actually not absorbing it and using it. You've probably got malabsorption and you're inflamed down the intestinal lining. You're not going to absorb very much. So it'd be great to, let's just backtrack a bit, really work on the gut, try and improve the absorption there, reduce the inflammation, and then we'll be able to get things in.
I love that you're saying that because I had a I had a friend that went to see a homeopath, and she said to her, I've just gone and gotten a double iron infusion, and she told her what she sort of felt afterwards. And Penny said, why did you get a double iron infusion? And she said, it must have been really low. And so Penny said, well, I wonder why you're not absorbing that then. And so straight away she was like you.
Yeah.
What's happening for you not to absorb that?
Yeah.
Whereas that's not what the doctors are doing. The doctors are going, well, you just need 2 of them. You just need to do that again. And no one's ever checking, like what you've just said, what's happening in the body for that body not to be absorbing that. And let's start there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
you want to improve that because the answer is not always an iron infusion. That is quite inflammatory. That is, iron is going everywhere in the body rather than, into making red blood cells.
It gave her a migraine, which is why she mentioned it to the practitioner. And she said, well, actually, you've got, I think there was something else going on in her body at the time. She said, so that wasn't really helpful for you at that time to have that because of this other thing that wasn't addressed. Yeah. So again, I just think doctors, bless them, they've got 10 minutes. They're trying to do a crazy amount of work in that time.
Exactly.
They can't cover everything. And even in their training, I don't think they have that
knowledge. It's not well covered. I think they do.
They do one class of Heard on Nutrition.
Yes, of nutrition. Yeah.
And when we think
we
think historically, we think historically about how we treat our bodies. Food is medicine.
Yes.
And back in the day, that's how it was treated. You have this when you're sick. You have this when you're trying to get yourself pregnant. You have these things. Like they have all these things that they would do to support the body for all sorts of different things. And we've just lost all of that.
Yes. Yeah, definitely.
I think one of the themes coming through here is I'm just going to do like a mid-episode summary.
Go on then.
I feel like that's useful, right? We always want to give our listeners like practical takeaways. Is if you're starting to, if any of this is resonating with you, if you're starting to feel some of these symptoms, because I would say the past generation just toughed it out.
Yeah.
Right?
And got divorced.
I mean, I think your parents are younger, but my parents were right in that little menopause sweet spot
Well,
when
I
they
had a
got
client.
divorced?
I had a client literally say to me, he said, "I think we've had a number of our friends go through divorces around
wouldn't
this
surprise
time."
me.
Yeah, because they were having a tricky spot in their relationship. So he reflected on, what was going on for them, and they realised it was hormones, and then thought, "Gosh, this is what our friends have been going through," but they didn't know, and then a number of them had actually divorced.
This is probably the point of the episode when we get, because I asked you before this episode, I was like, how vulnerable are we going to be on this show today?
What did
you
I
look
say?
worried, Natasha. You don't have to be worried.
Our vulnerability diary.
And we agreed that we would share some stuff, right?
Yeah, I want my clients and my listeners to know what I go through, because if they think that, I'm immune to it, then...
Yeah. So I would say there used to be 3 points in our life where we would say we considered breaking up. And each of those 3 points coincides with when each baby was roughly 6 months old.
It was under a year.
Yeah.
And look, these weren't serious conversations, but it was just the point of going, I've had enough of you.
Yeah, I don't like you anymore.
We were in strong negative sentiment override.
There's now a 4th, and it wasn't even that long ago,
Yeah.
where you one morning just had that cold demeanor that we talked about at the beginning of the show, and the topic of breaking up came up,
which I can't even really remember. This is the brain fog.
Tracey can't remember it. I have PTSD about it.
Yeah. We'll have to do some EMDR for him and try and clear it.
Because it's strange from the guy's point of view. You kind of know that it's not Tracey talking, right? Like some of the stuff I won't go into all the details of things she said, but my thought process was, yeah, I'm pretty sure I know what's going on here, but you can't say that.
No,
because I'm knowing that validity of that thing that was a 2 out of 10 is still valid. It's still annoying.
It's valid, yes.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is, even though you think it's that, the longer the conversation goes on, the more you doubt yourself and go, maybe it's not the hormones. Because that's probably, I've found, the worst thing I could possibly say is, well, your hormones are raging at the moment, or something along those lines like that.
Red rag to a bull.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
I just don't say that
No,
anymore.
and that's good advice for all husbands.
That is like, that would be a part of it, definitely. And the way you're feeling is not your most optimal.
And Tracey
but
she believes it at the time.
Yes.
Because I'm feeling it at the time.
Yes.
And even though a part of me is knowing I'm feeling this very strongly, there's another part of me going, yeah, and for years I'm putting up with blah, blah, blah. So I'm validating my own, I'm sticking with it of this is why I'm feeling this way.
And as the guy, because I felt like that conversation went on for a very long time. And the longer the conversation goes on, the more you doubt yourself to go, oh, maybe she does feel like that. That's the point that I think we kind of got to with that conversation. The reason we're sharing that is because I know not everyone would share that, but I feel like you need to hear this stuff.
Absolutely. And we have a really strong relationship. Like, we are very, very connected, very close. We do a lot of things together because we work together. And that's actually when we get along better, is when we actually have a lot to do with each other. If we do more things apart is when we would have more friction and kind of miss each other. So, around these times, it's probably hard for you because I'm a little brat and the energy wouldn't be so nice. In fact, one of the best compliments you give me is about how nice my energy is.
Yes.
So when the
I gave
hormones...
you that compliment last night.
Yeah, when the hormones are raging, it wouldn't be that nice energy to be around. In fact, he's lucky I swing on that hammock so much because I just take myself away.
But yeah, I think it's important to share that, because if you're going through it, I think people could and absolutely would separate around that.
Yeah, without the understanding, for sure, they wouldn't really know what's going on in their relationship, what's causing this. So I would suggest to anybody, that, from my perspective, if you're feeling that and your relationship is being impacted, go and see a relationship counsellor, because I'll often say to people, can you both go and get your levels checked? Like, I definitely won't put it on the woman and say, look, you're just being crazy and overreacting, because, again, what they're feeling is valid, and these might have been complaints that have been going on for years and years in the relationship, and the husband wasn't really paying attention or thinking, she'll get over it, and she probably did.
And I feel like there's two things here.
Yeah.
Like this is that, I don't know if you've heard of an estrogen veil, like that estrogen veil lifting, especially when you're coming into menopause and your estrogen is naturally sitting quite low now because it was a good buffer for us.
Right.
And progesterone is very low.
Yeah.
It was a good buffer. So we've kind of been able to get through on these things and maybe just put things, just not worried about it and, things will be better again. But once that estrogen drops down, then we lose that filter that you've mentioned a few times.
Yeah.
And it's like, actually, no, I'm done. I've had enough of that. I'm not going to deal with this anymore.
Yes. And that's how I felt.
Then the second thing I'd say is, I was reading some research recently, and when you sort of get to your mid-50s, there's a lot of mental health changes, a lot of anxiety and depression that comes with your brain changing when your hormones drop down. By the time you get to your mid-50s, most women say, I feel the best I have in my entire life. Oh. My mental health is the best it's been. So I think we were talking about before, how long does this last and how long is this going to go on for? Mid-50s and later, it sort of has recalibrated your brain and your mental health and you'll feel better.
Wow, that's interesting to know.
It's a bit of hope for everybody.
Yes. Yeah, that you can
Everyone
feel
needs
amazing. That. Yeah, at that point. People often say about, you feel more confident and you feel like you're more, don't really care what people think. So is that kind of around that age when you've kind of gone through all the changes and you're a bit more comfortable in your own skin and then you've got that confidence kind of there.
Yeah, you feel a lot more balanced.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've also noticed that I had a client once where she told me she'd always kind of been a people pleaser and had been really happy in her marriage and thought her husband was lovely. And then the hormones started changing and all of a sudden she was starting to speak up more. And he was really confused because she'd never done this before. And he was really worried about the relationship because, again, it's changing the dynamics of what had been there. And for her, she was starting to deal with things that she'd never dealt with. And so I often feel like with my clients, and I do say this to them, deal with stuff now or hormones will make you deal with it later.
Yeah, I definitely see that.
Chucks it up in the air and you're like, you need to deal with that. And if you don't, it will keep coming back.
It will, yeah.
So do you think that's hormones really bringing that to the surface?
I definitely, like, again, that estrogen veil, is a little bit of a talk, because it's like a little bit of a filter. It's sort of, some people say, and I don't really like this, but it keeps us compliant. And, it just helps us regulate. Progesterone definitely helps us regulate our nervous system. Yeah. But once progesterone drops down, we become a lot more reactive. And because we're doing so much as well, we might have been doing all this stuff all this time and then hormones drop down. We can't actually continue on like that. Like we are going to burn ourselves out. Yeah. And yes, we start pushing back and saying, actually, I need you to do this now. I can't do everything.
Yes, I have been pushing back.
And I've been picking up lots of extra.
No, but we've had a bit of a role reversal. So Scott has actually been picking up much more of the kid stuff than what he ever used
and I
to.
commonly hear this. Husband will say, but we kind of agreed. Like, I do all this side, and you've always done that side. And like, our body is going through lots of changes, and this is going to have to change too, because I can't keep going on like this. I just don't have that. I don't have that buffer anymore.
So I really want people to hear that, because I think that if you're trucking along in your relationship and you're just thinking, well, how come all of a sudden she's now not wanting to do that or she's changing things up, like, to hear that it's actually a biological change and they need to hear that.
Have to change as well.
Yeah. I really want people to hear that, because I think otherwise you could just be thinking, the problem's all with the wife, or she's changed her attitude towards you, or, we're going to get blamed. I'm worried we're going to get blamed.
Well, I also want to clarify the reason why I've picked up a lot more is because Tracey works more than me now. And so we've had a little household role reversal where I have a little bit more free time, and I'm happy to take things off your plate, because I can see, we've had many conversations on this podcast about the mental load, so I won't go into that. But Tracey...
I love shoving that to him now. You figure out what the dinner is. You figure out what we're taking to the...
It's all those little things. Oh. It sounds like a little thing, but it's many little things.
Oh, my God.
Yes.
So, what are we having for dinner tonight? It's the never-ending question.
Yes.
It drives me nuts.
Yes.
Well, especially when you have, you know this, 3 kids.
Yep.
Your kids are little, so probably even more fussy than
our
kids.
Planning is my answer. Even if if you can make that a nice process or something enjoyable for yourself, if you can have between 2 and 3 on a Sunday, you sit down and you have your cup of tea or you have a coffee, and you have the time to actually make the plan, not have it like you're trying to look after the kids and do all the stuff and you're trying to write a plan. It just becomes another thing. But if you have a scheduled time where I plan what I'm going to do for the week, it just makes it easier.
And
and more enjoyable.
Yes. I often suggest that for couples, actually. Same thing. Sit with a cup of coffee or tea and then together figure out things, like whether it's a list of activities you want to do together, you know, so you're not having to in the moment think of things. You've got the list ready to go, or again with meals, but just making that more of a thing that you're doing together and it doesn't feel like it's all, you know, on one person.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that can be helpful.
Yep.
Another topic we haven't talked about is weight gain. So I wanted to ask you about that. No judgment.
Yes. You look at me. He looked straight at you.
He did look at me. I haven't actually put on any weight, so touch wood.
You're looking great. But I hear that is a common thing that happens.
Yeah. It's a big one. And especially the way that it goes is you've been doing the same thing all your life and now all of a sudden I'm putting on weight. But we do take a sort of a deep dive into what's been going on for the last few years. And yes, I am working full time and actually I have changed to a job that is sitting more as well. All of these things compound the problem of hormones dropping down, particularly estrogen, because estrogen was very good for insulin sensitivity. And once that goes out the window a little bit, blood sugar control becomes unstable. So again, another thing you have to start manually managing, and we do that again with protein, you know. And the sitting down, working long hours, and it's not that you don't want to prioritize exercising, but again, it's another thing. We don't need another thing, but it is, I'm starting to talk about exercise and maintaining your muscle mass. It's as important as sleep for longevity, for your health long term. You know, we need muscle mass on to help keep insulin sensitive. Now estrogens drop down. We need muscle tone. We need muscle mass to keep our energy up. That drives all our metabolism, our ability to make ATP, so to make energy. We need to keep that on. It's so important.
Yeah. So our muscles are actually dropping, aren't they?
They're dropping. So estrogen is very good for, you know, keeping muscle tone on. You know, it's another one of those things that estrogen is just taken care of all these years. And when it drops down, it's lots of things go out the window, including muscle tone. And because we become more busy and we put things for ourselves on hold or forget about doing stuff for ourselves. Like we used to always play netball or we used to always go for that walk, you know. When your motivation drops a little bit too and your neurotransmitters are changing, you have less motivation to do those things. I just can't be bothered. Again, manually managing it, you need to find things that help to motivate you. Like I say, put a podcast on, put music on. Even if you're in the worst mood possible and I am not going for that walk, put some music on.
That's the time to do it.
Put something on. I guarantee you most of the time you are going to be like, I feel a bit better.
You'll change your physiological state, won't you? You really will. Yeah.
Or just make it around the block today. Just make it around the block, a little bit out of breath. Took me 2 minutes. Who cares? Tick, boom, done.
Yeah, and you gave yourself a good feeling.
Yes, exactly. And you know, we can't just stick to 2 minutes every day, but if you got to make it a habit first too. And then you're going to build on it. The better you feel, actually, I am feeling a little bit better. Oh, I feel like I'm looking a little bit more toned. Yeah. That's going to give you motivation.
Yeah, I agree. I think I do the same thing when I try and convince myself to do certain things. I might go, just go to the gym. You don't have to work very hard today. Just do what you can do.
But
and then once you're there, you'll do whatever.
More often than not, you're going to do more.
Yeah, but it's just that tricking myself to get to that first step.
Yes.
So I would say another huge takeaway is exercise and
weight training.
Resistance.
I listen to so many podcasts and a lot of them are health-based ones, and everyone drill what you said, like it's as important as sleep. And it's something I think maybe middle-aged women don't really associate, maybe something they've never even really done. I mean, you have, Tracey, but I think you're an outlier. Like you've done weights your whole life pretty much since you're a teenager, right? So it's just normal to you, and I think it'll be normal for our girls because they've seen you do it. But I don't think that's normal. The norm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that is a big takeaway and I know it might feel like a big deal, but I love everything that you've been saying, Natasha. It's just little baby steps of little things you can do.
You can build on. Yeah. It's not everything at once. You definitely have to take little bits, even if it's dietary changes, your lifestyle changes. This week, I'm just going to make it around the block. You know?
And it's focusing on, see, for me, the protein was really important because I realised, hey, that's stopping the nausea that I was getting. And then I listened to a podcast the other day and they were saying, now I'll get this wrong, but you'll get this right. Does protein make dopamine and something else? Like, does it contribute towards those neurotransmitters?
It would.
Or it does?
I would definitely say it helps to. You definitely need protein to make neurotransmitters in general.
Right.
You need protein to keep inflammation calm and low. And then that inflammation really upsets brain chemistry.
Right.
So if you can keep your blood sugar control stable, because in this stage of life and moving forward, your blood sugar control is the biggest contributor to inflammation.
Yeah.
You know, that blood sugar spike going up and down, we wake up and we have a coffee and we haven't eaten for 12 to 14 hours.
Yeah.
So then we have a coffee, which spikes cortisol, which dysregulates our blood sugar control. And then we come down, then we have something really carb-based, like just a cereal.
Yeah.
So then we get another spike of blood sugar. Then we come straight back down the other side. Those spikes are very inflammatory and they damage insulin sensitivity when it's already starting to lose its way.
Wow.
So then that's quite inflammatory. That upsets brain chemistry. That upsets thyroid function. That's going to mean your metabolism is going to start getting dialed down.
So again, I just keep thinking of what doctors would do if they heard those symptoms. They would give you a pill. They were not
this is the problem with blood sugar control is unless you are diabetic, which is there's a lot of destruction of insulin been going on for a long time, but by the time you're diagnosed diabetic, and in between that, they don't have anything. Wow. There's nothing else that they can prescribe or that they tell us, you're not diabetic, so you're fine. But it's not that black and white, you know. There's your insulin is losing sensitivity all right through perimenopause and definitely menopause and onwards. And you have to start managing these things yourself. Yeah. And, so you don't get to 60, now I'm pre-diabetic. Even pre-diabetic, that's been going on for a long time. Yeah. And again, in bloods, the right bloods are probably not done. There's definitely better, more specific bloods we can do to look at that actual insulin sensitivity. So fasting insulin, that's a great place to start rather than blood sugar control. Your body is amazing. Your body's going to keep blood sugar control in check until, 10 years, 15 years later, it's been fighting all this time to try and manage your blood sugar control through all of these ups and down spikes. Mm-hmm. That it no longer can, and you need to make a massive amount of insulin to manage that blood sugar. But that's in bloods, it's going to look really normal for a long time until it's not. Wow. So we just don't look at the right things.
And I like what you said about we get to the point where we need to manage these things ourselves, because I think people are not managing them, they're just struggling through. Yes. So again, that's the feeling of go and get this looked at. Yep. Don't just struggle through. Don't just go, I know it's perimenopause or menopause. Actually go and do something about that, because I think
there's lots of things that you can do.
And your system will be depleted if you don't.
Yeah.
You're running on fumes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my biggest advice is go and see somebody like Natasha or anybody that's going to work individually with you. I think would be really helpful, because again, hats off to the doctors. They're doing a lot.
Yes.
But this is not their area of specialty. They don't have the time to do it.
They don't have the time to give to it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think you do need someone that's really...
And again, that can be a part of the answer. You go and talk to your doctor, and maybe you do. For the interim, you need an anti-anxiety or something to help you through this period while we work on other things, because some women have so many things going on and we can't tackle everything at once, and you can't manage to do everything at once, Yeah. So in this interim, and I can do things that help support that medication to work better. And then over time, we can potentially start looking at dialing it down again.
Yeah, that's good advice. Although I had a client the other day that told me she was given anxiety medication to handle some of the anxiety stuff that was happening because of her hormones being out of whack, and it actually made her feel worse.
Yes, which it can, because everybody is different. Yeah. It's not the only answer, and then you start feeling like, there's no help. And
and it was lucky that she was messaging me and she was messaging the homeopath that she sees as well, and both of us just kept saying, listen to your body. If your body's telling you that it's not right for you, just listen to your body. Because she said, I feel like the symptoms I'm getting for this medication is worse than what it was trying to help. Yep. And so I was like, you've got your own answers. It's up to you. And so once she stopped, she felt so much better. But it was just empowering her to make her own decision. Yep. Whereas I feel like she was trying to follow the rules of what the doctor had said, and am I letting him down if I'm not taking this medication that he's prescribed? Yep. But we had to bring it back to, no, it wasn't working for you. You could tell it wasn't working for you, and you felt better afterwards. So just that coming back to your own,
it's not always going to work.
And I feel like as much as going and seeing someone is really helpful, we are our own best experts as well. We'll feel the difference in our body. We won't feel the difference. But no one's going to know that about us unless they're doing the tests or they're seeing the levels.
Yeah.
You're having to
spending
really
the time.
Give the information, check in your own symptoms and just knowing what's going on for you. Whereas I think we're so busy, no one's tuning in.
Yeah.
You know, we're distracted, we're running on fumes, and then they're not realising, oh, actually, I'm probably not eating properly, or I have skipped meals.
And that's like tying that into weight loss as well, or weight changes at this life stage. We are really busy, so we're skipping meals. So actually we've only eaten for a long time now, 800 calories most days. You do that after 2 weeks, your metabolism will dial itself down because you're only going to give me that, so I'm only going to burn that. Yeah. And that's a part of, we're going on a weight loss journey with somebody that I've got to sort of refeed them. We've got to bring you back up to over 1,200 calories or that 1,200 calorie mark more consistently, really gently. So your nervous system feels okay because you can put on weight. If you've been notoriously eating low calories and then you start eating a low to normal amount of calories, you could put on weight, but we have to get back up there because it calms the nervous system. The best thing to do to dial cortisol down is to eat protein. If you've been really stressed, sometimes we don't eat because we're quite stressed, but actually having a really protein heavy meal is a great way to turn the corner on cortisol and help it to dial down.
Yes. You told me in one of our sessions something about you don't want to be one of those old ladies that doesn't eat anything and puts on weight as soon as they do, or something like that. And that stuck with me. I was like, I know those people. They really barely eat anything. And they still would complain about their
metabolism has been dialed down so far because it's really smart, And there is ways to do that. So technically lots of people ask me about fasting, and I like fasting. There's lots of things in the gut lining and the body that we do in response to fasting. But when in this life stage, when we've got lots going on, it's another stress on the system, and it is going to spike your blood sugar control as well. So strong fasts are not something I would do in this life stage. I would do a normal 12-hour fast. So if you're not already doing that, you can start with that, and we can build on that over time. But it's just, if you're doing that strong fasting, it's not helping that blood sugar dysregulation problem.
You fast a bit, Tracey.
Well, I don't probably fast properly anymore. I probably just would have no food days like I used to.
So you did describe that to me. Yeah. So that is like a cyclical fast. This is good. Okay. As long as you're not super stressed. If we're super stressed, I would just do every single day for the next 3 months, we're going to have a 12-hour eating window. Or if you've been doing 16-hour eating windows, okay, I'll compromise and we'll do 14 hours and just signal to the body that it's okay again. And it's okay to lose weight too. So we got to work on that first.
So
and
just
then
to clarify that, the 16 hours is 16 hours you can eat.
Not eating. Yes. Right. Yeah. But then cyclical dieting, so we're in a little bit better place and we're eating plenty of protein. You can afford to have 2 days a week where you are calorie deficient, at a calorie deficit. Still, that's not a ridiculous level, and you can play with it. Everybody feels different at a different level. So it's anywhere between 500 and 1,200 on those days, which I feel like you naturally do, on your work days or whatever days it is. That you don't have a certain meal, but you have protein-rich 2 other meals, and that keeps your blood sugar control stable. You only do it once, and then for the next couple of days, you eat your normal level of calories, then you do it again. That stops the body dialing itself down. So the body is used to having 1,600 calories. It'll burn that naturally. Then all of a sudden you give it 800 calories, you lose that deficit in weight. But then you jump straight back up. So it's not enough to go, I've got to dial this down.
Oh, okay. Right. That makes sense. Yeah. So lots of things people can do.
There's so many things.
And with protein, obviously can be eggs, fish, chicken, meat, protein powder.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Generally, because our protein levels go up as we age, I quite often recommend to have a protein powder. A favourite one of mine at the moment is that ATP Science collagen protein, because it's 20 grams of collagen. At this life stage, our guts aren't functioning as well as they used to, so it's really low reactive. It goes down quite well. I don't get people bloating or feeling a bit sick or anything after it. It dissolves quite well. And also it's all collagen, so estrogen was very good for our collagen. So that sort of manually manages that side again. We need it for the gut lining to repair. We need it for all connective tissue, hair, skin, nails, joints, ligaments, bones, so we can manually manage it with collagen.
You have collagen bars, don't you? Well, you did.
I probably did, but I've got that exact protein powder that
right, okay.
Natasha's talking about.
Yeah, that's one that I take at the moment. I change mine all the time. You get sick of flavours, and you've got to, I just say, get a trial set so you know it's not going to upset your gut.
Yeah.
But a plant protein generally, I would say, because if it's from whey can be very histamine upsetting at this life stage. Yeah. If you don't have any histamine symptoms, which is many, but a lot of stuffiness or tonsillitis, getting sick easily, mucus in your chest, you can sleep okay, not, crazy anxiety all the time, then whey can be good for women to put on muscle tone, but I probably would encourage plant for most women at the moment while we're working on other things.
They're easy to get, so I have a plant-based protein powder because I don't have dairy.
Yes.
So if you have a dairy allergy, you have to get the
plant-based
protein powder.
Yes.
And there's heaps. You go to Chemist Warehouse, or there's lots of other chemists available. I know I've mentioned Chemist Warehouse.
Health food stores.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, I would assume there's cheap and there's more expensive, and
absolutely
same principle as before.
Yes. Yeah. And it's the extra things. It's the extra, when it comes to protein powders, the extra things that are in there that you don't want. You want to be able to read the ingredients and without, Googling all of them, know what they are. Yep. You're on a good track then. Yeah.
Perfect. I've thought of a nice way to bring the episode in for a landing is, I don't know what life stage you're at. You can share it or not share it, but I assume if or when the time comes, you're going to be pretty prepared. So I was going to ask you about a few different things, and then you say sort of what you're planning to do.
Yes. Already started.
Started.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've turned 42. I turned 42 on Sunday.
Oh, happy birthday.
I'm definitely already feeling changes.
Wow. Okay. So nutrition and diet, like just your high level things that are on your mind.
Yeah, I'd say definitely getting your protein right, and that is a good thing to do sooner rather than later. You are going to be ahead of the game if you're already having a good level of protein, because you need it for your brain function, you need it for insulin sensitivity, muscle mass, all that sort of stuff. I would say you absolutely need to prioritize eating 3 meals a day that are high protein. And we did start talking about protein powders and things like that. I try and manage my protein as in I would have my plant protein shake with like really quick breakfast because I have no time, which is really common, is my protein shake, and I've got my 2 boiled eggs in the fridge. Just something that's going to fill up my stomach. But I would have plant protein in the morning. I try and have, if I've got leftovers, that's great for lunch, but I would try and have plant protein for lunch more often than not, so even half the week. And then I would have an animal protein source at dinner, so we're not having too many animal proteins.
When you're saying plant protein, it's not necessarily the powder. Or
so like a tofu or a tempeh.
Right, okay.
Eggs, nuts and seeds.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yep.
How are you going to stay on top of your blood? That's my British. Sometimes my accent from when I was a kid comes out.
Is that your dad? Your dad would say that, wouldn't
my dad would say blood.
Yeah.
Your blood sugar. How are you going to sort of stay on top? What is in top of your mind to just keep that in check?
Again, muscle tone. So keeping on your muscle tone, because that is going to help keep your insulin sensitive, and it's going to keep your metabolism up.
Okay.
But protein is number one here. Again, it's so important, and it is a big chunk of what I talk about to people and what their level, what actual protein they actually need to have. A good place to start is 1 gram per kilogram of body weight, considering there's no kidney disease and issues and stuff like that. 1 gram per kilogram, that's a great place to start, because I guarantee you probably aren't having that. Yeah. And then you've got to go higher depending on what's going on for you. But the muscle tone is super important. It's just as important for blood sugar control.
Awesome. Lifestyle, like you have 3 little kids.
Yes.
What for those only listening, Natasha made a funny stress face that only a mother of 3 kids would make.
What are their ages?
They are 2, 6 and 11.
Yeah, so I wanted to just point out the 2-year-old. That is, you are in the trenches.
Yeah.
That is a lot of work.
Do you still carve out time for yourself? And
it is really
stress
hard.
management, because you're running a business. You're mother of 3, like you've got a lot going on.
Yep. Yeah, I really empathize with my clients, and I totally get it when they say, when am I supposed to do this? Because I get it. But it's so important, because you look after everybody. And if you're good, they are going to be good.
Yep.
You know, so it's so important. It's got to be something small, and even every day, something that you can look forward to. You just have to have it on the forefront of your mind. And when you make some habits to tick off those boxes for yourself, when they're habits, they're no longer another thing you've got to do. You just do them, you know, and everybody knows what to expect. So, and it's starting small if you're not doing anything for yourself, because I get so many women sort of, they're just done, you know, and they often describe they're in a, you know, not a great spot with their relationship, because they're just done with all the stuff, and they just can't keep going on like this, but they're kind of expecting themselves to as well. And
that's why they switch off from their partner, I think.
Yes.
Because they're so by the time the end of the day happens, they just want to switch off, flick on their phone, or just scroll on their phone, or whatever it is.
Nervous system.
Yes.
You know, it's just so wound. There's no more bend in it. Yeah. There's just not much more that they can do.
Yeah, I see that. And then the relationship gets affected.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Key supplements that you are taking or going to take?
Yeah, so there is a couple. There's a couple of general ones that are really, really great. And we talked about one, which was that magnesium, taurine and B6. So caveat with B6, you can definitely have too much B6. It's one that builds up in the body, where we think, you know, that most of the other Bs, apart from B12, are water soluble. So they just go out with your urine. There's a couple that build up. So you have to be careful. And everybody has a different tolerable level. So I would be careful of that. However, those three are quite magic for sleep and anxiety, just mood, motivation. They're really pivotal for that. I would say creatine.
Yep.
Yes, creatine. That's a really good one. And I definitely use this a lot with thyroid patients, because they are already at that level of, I definitely can't, I can't even try anymore. Like, there's no trying, I can't do anymore. Or I have a little bit of a busy day, and then I'm really wiped out the next day. So creatine helps to buffer your energy rather than supplying directly to ATP production and energy production. It just helps to create a buffer. And it is really good for neurochemistry as well. So, and keeping your brain on track, memory, cognition, concentration, that sort of thing.
Maybe Tommy was onto something.
Oh, definitely.
I have to get Tommy's leftovers.
Yes.
And this is just listening to Diary of a CEO and stuff. There's good creatine and bad creatine. I think there's a word like ionized or magnetized. I don't know what it is. There's something, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I definitely know there's some are much better than others.
Yeah. Same with all things. I do know, like the creatine monohydrate, that is one of the most well-studied supplements, if not the most well-studied supplement. It's there, and the research has been around for a long time. That can give people gut upset, but I usually find if you go in too high, too quick, you know, you're going to give yourself gut upset. There are different forms that are gentler on the gut, but monohydrate is the most well researched.
Yep.
And again, you want to make sure it's not filled with lots of other things. You know, it is mostly creatine.
Rule,
Yeah.
And the last question is sleep and prioritizing sleep. I assume that's just almost the number one thing.
Yes, yeah. And there's different things that happen in the different stages in perimenopause and menopause. Perimenopause, you definitely, with that histamine, coming back to histamine and estrogen follow each other around. When you become estrogen dominant, you are making more histamine. So histamine is a stimulatory neurotransmitter, and it's more active at night. It will keep you awake. So, you know, you're feeling okay during the day, and then it's like, I can't shut my brain off at night. That can be a real histamine type of factor thing to say.
Yeah, because I usually sleep so well because I go to the gym so early, but there's been times where I'm just laying there like, do-do-do.
So, and if estrogen is high or low, that is going to affect your sleep, because you're not making those neurotransmitters that help us get into deep, restful sleep that we should be having.
Wow. God, it affects everything.
Yes.
Did I miss anything, or is there anything that we haven't talked about that you want to cover? Because you've done amazing. You've talked about so much great stuff.
There is. And there's loads of stuff that we haven't covered, because the things that women experience are so wide and they're so different for everybody. And then I'd also say some of the things that we've talked about, it might not be perimenopause, it might not be menopause. Like, it could be something else. It could be thyroid dysfunction, or it could actually be diabetes, especially if there's a diabetes in your family. It might not be that too,
Or you could be in a terrible relationship.
Yes, there could be things like you said that need to be dealt with, and finally it's going to come up that you have to deal with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny. That's not us. Okay. How can people, so anyone in Perth who wants to come and see you, how can they get in touch with you and also follow you? You share a lot of good information on your social media. So
Definitely, yeah, jump on there. But I also have a website, and I've got a running blog on there as well, which I talk about lots of things like this as well, and how different things, if it's not perimenopause, how those interact, like how to work out if it is that or this. But I talk about all the common things that I see in clinic all the time. And there's lots, especially in the blog, there's lots of useful information about what you can do and what you don't do if this situation is happening. But yeah, on socials, website.
And what I will put it in the show description, but for those listening, what is your website? Is it NR?
It's nrgnaturopathy.
Yep.
.com.au.
Perfect. And your Instagram handle?
Is at nrgnaturopathy.
Perfect. The ice maker's on.
We need to cut that out. Tommy, cut that out.
Why?
You can't have an ice machine in the background.
No, we record this podcast in our kitchen.
Why did we not turn that off though? That's ridiculous.
It's fine.
We are cutting this out, don't we?
No, I think I might keep this in.
No, do not.
No, we will. It's genuine.
It's ridiculous.
Well, we're not in a studio.
Oh,
we're
my
in a
goodness.
house.
All right.
I will put links to your social media and your website in the description of the show if people want to get in touch with you. Thank you. Done an amazing job. Shared so much information. Hopefully it hasn't been too overwhelming for people. I think it's been high level enough that people will sort of know sort of first steps. And that's the main thing. One of the things I took away is just take a step.
Yes.
And then take the next step.
I want to thank you as well for even just all the stuff you do put on social media, because that's a lot of work.
Yes.
And by giving free information to people, then they can resonate with that. They can then, take that a little step further and look into more stuff. Or like you've said, you've got lots of stuff on your blog or your blogs. So I think that there's so much free information out there. Even just start there.
Yep.
Even just start with like seeing what am I experiencing what am I resonating with in the podcast? Like, am I feeling a bit grumpy?
Something that women say all the time is, is anybody else feeling like this?
Yeah.
I want everybody to know that you are not alone.
Yeah.
Even if you feel like you've tried all the things, even different naturopaths, different doctors, we're all going to have a different perspective on things as well. So you can always talk to somebody else about it, even if you feel like you've talked to 2 other people before. Yeah. But everybody's journey is very different too. So you're not alone. There is so much that you can do.
Yep. And you're not a crazy bitch. You might just be Brady Tracey for a little minute. It might just be hormone swinging and, you can do things about that.
Yes.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Pleasure.
Beautiful.
We're just going to spend like 2 minutes plugging some various things and then we'll wrap up this episode. Tracey, we have quite a few things going on. Mm-hmm. This episode will come out in a couple of weeks. So the main thing is the retreat, but just quickly, we are releasing another breathwork beats, kind of my DJ house music combined with our breathwork. That's going to be on YouTube soon, probably is already as you're listening to this. So check that out on our YouTube channel. You could choose mine or Tracey's. It's at DJ Scotty Q on YouTube or at tracycoyle.therapy. As always, if you like this show, give it 5 stars, tell your friends, support the show. Really appreciate it. Now, the big thing we want to talk about is the retreat is coming up on May 1st. We released it to the wait list. We booked half the spots, so there's half left as of now. There might be less by the time this show comes out. But Tracey, give it a little plug. Who is it for, and what do we do?
So pretty much all the things you're talking about today is the people that need to take time for themselves, feel overwhelmed, are feeling like life is really busy and they put themselves last and everyone else is the priority. Come and spend 2 days with us in nature. We are doing nervous system regulation techniques. We are looking at inner child work, processing things from our past that hasn't been processed, that still sit in the body, doing breathwork journeys. it's just a beautiful 2 days away. And as much as people feel really, really nervous about coming along and trying something new and being on their own for the first time, you know, away from family and friends and doing something for themselves, by the end of those 2 days, they do not want to go home. All of our clients always tell us we could do a third night, or the WhatsApp group goes off, you know, afterwards when they leave because they're so connected. So those strangers you meet on the first night, they are not strangers by the end of even the first day. Like even 24 hours later, you've got the connections.
It's amazing how fast
it's
the
magical.
transition
It's
happens.
really beautiful. So if you've got that as your worry, like please read the reviews or, you know, any of the other people's, you know, information, because they'll tell you they felt the same way and then afterwards they felt incredible. So push on through that nervousness because you'll get a beautiful connection on the other side of that.
Yeah. And the WhatsApp group, which we never planned to do, but after the first retreat, everyone begged us, we've got to have a WhatsApp group, and then that's happened every retreat since, and now we have a bigger WhatsApp.
Like a master WhatsApp group, where everyone's in there.
Anyone who's been on a retreat is on this group, and what we found is it gives people just, you know, obviously they're not your friends that you see every day, but it's a group of people who all get it and all feel like they're in the same boat and understand what each other's going through. So it's just another kind of support.
Yeah, to keep that motivation going, to keep yourself, you know, on track with self-care and prioritising yourself, because we're all in our habits, and usually it's been that we're running a busy life, and so all those priorities are the to-do lists, and we're at the very bottom of that. So those WhatsApp groups can be a reminder that you're important too, and, you know, giving suggestions about different things people are doing might inspire you to try something new.
Good job, Tracey. Well done.
Well done. For you.
Okay, you can follow us on social media. It's at traceyquayle.therapy. Join the mailing list on our website, which is traceyquayle.com. Like, subscribe, leave a comment if you're on YouTube or Spotify, and tell your friends. Thank you again, Natasha. Really good episode. Good job, Tracey.
Thanks.
All right. Bye-bye.